All right, so we're going to look at adding data to our aggregated dividend component. But first, I want to just do a few changes to this select box. So let's go ahead and go to our select box in the editor. And we'll go to the CSS module. And what we'll do is we'll remove the width and we'll set the color to inherit and hit save on that. And we'll go ahead and go back to our aggregated dividend and we'll go to the module and we'll say we'll give the, let's go ahead and check the select module again. So font size inherits and color inherits, and that's going to go ahead and make the text adjustable and the size adjustable. And we need to go ahead and go back to our aggregated dividend module, and we want to give this a header color, so set that in the header. And that'll transfer over, and then we are going to adjust the width a little bit, so we'll say maybe 90 pixels or 100. And now we need to go to our dashboard as well and make a slight adjustment. So we'll go ahead and go to the stock lists module and we'll find the select container. Let's go ahead and go to the stock list JSX and we'll go ahead and go to the, we'll give this a class name of styles.select, and inside of stock list CSS module we'll give that a width of 300 pixels, and let's see, maybe 200 and 50. And we might want to go ahead and adjust the icon a little bit as well. So select module.css and let's go ahead and put this to 50 and let's go back to our stock list and adjust the size a little bit, the width. So something like that. And now we'll go ahead and look at the aggregated dividend data. So let's see what we want to do here. We want to have different kinds of options. So let's say we have 20 years, we have 15 years, we have 10, and we have 5. So we want to use that to calculate the average, the total yield, and then we want to use that to calculate the dividends per share in aggregate over the last, and then whatever selected here. So what we need to do is we want to take the options and add all of the options to our select. So let's go ahead and say that we have another object here, which is value 15, and then display value of 15 years, and then we'll add a value of 10 and a, let's make sure we put that in a new object. And let's line this up. And we'll add a new object here, and that's going to be value 10 display value 10 years. And we have a problem here. All right. And then we'll add a value 5 and a display value of 5 years. And now we'll go ahead and grab useState from React, and we'll say const years and set years equals useState 0. And what we'll do is we'll set the default value when the component loads, and that's going to be the first option here. So let's say useState 20, and then we will create an Unchanged Handler in this select, and whenever, actually let's just create it here. So whenever the select box changes, we want to grab the value and we want to update our state. So let's go ahead and let's go ahead and just say set years is fine. And then we'll pass the unchanged to our select. So now when we change the select value, we should be able to change the years property here. So let's go ahead and plug that in into the text here. And we'll go ahead and make sure that that works by going to our browser. And we'll change the select box, and it looks like we are able to change the years here. All right, great. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to use this value to calculate the average the past X amount of years. So let's see how we'll implement that. So this component needs to take the dividends, and then we'll use that to calculate the aggregate. So let's go ahead and go to our dividend component, and we'll plug in the dividends of the currently selected stock, and we'll create a function here called calculate dividends. Okay, so this function needs to find the current year, get all of the object keys of the dividends object, subtract the current year with the selected year's value. So if we have 20 as the selected year's value, we want to subtract 20 from the current year. And then we want to check whether or not the keys of the dividends object are in between the threshold, which is the current year, and the lower threshold, which is the current year minus the amount of years that we have selected. And we only want to add those to our total, and then we want to divide that on the amount of keys. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's say const current year equals get current year, and we'll import our current year function. And then we'll say current year, or say upper threshold equals get current year, and then const lower threshold equals upper minus the years. And let's go ahead and grab the keys of our dividends object. So we'll say objects, keys, dividends, dividends, and we'll map over those, and we'll get back an array of keys within boundaries, threshold boundaries. So each key here, we want to check the value of the key, and we want to make sure that it's in between our thresholds. But remember, the keys that we get back here are strings, so we need to transform those to numbers if you are going to operate on them with number arithmetic. So let's go ahead and convert them to numbers first. So let's go ahead and say converted to number equals plus key, and we'll just go ahead and log that out. And we'll go ahead and just call this function here. And check our developer console. Alright, so now we have all of our numbers. And we want to make sure that they are within the threshold. So if converted to number is less than or equal to upper threshold, and it's greater than or equal to lower threshold, then we want to return the key. And I think we'll do filter instead of map, because map will give us back a array with the same amount of items, and what we really want to do here is to filter out the items that we don't need. So what we need to do in the filter is we want to return true or false. So let's say we want to return true here, otherwise we want to return false. And then we'll console log our keys. And let's go ahead and say, alright, so slight mistake here. We want to say converted to number here as well. And here we have our keys. So all of them are within the boundaries. Let's go ahead and grab another example. So this one. And now I want to change the aggregated dividend value. And now you can see we only get the keys that are within the threshold. So if we go down to 5 years, we only get from 2015 to 2020. All right, perfect. So let's go ahead and go back to our editor. And now we want to use these keys to calculate the total. So we'll say const total equals dividends, or we're going to say, let's say let total equals 0. And we're going to create we're going to say calculate aggregated dividends here. And we're going to say const calculate total. And that's going to take in an array of keys. And we're going to say let total, and then keys for each key. We're going to access the dividends, and let's see, maybe we'll pass in the dividends here, and we'll pass those on to this as well. I'm going to say dividends key, and we'll add the total value, and then we'll return the total here. So let's go ahead and say const total equals calculate total dividends, and we'll give that the keys within threshold and the dividends, and then we'll pass in the dividends here. And we need to make sure we update the name, and we'll log out the total here. So let's go ahead and check the total, which is 202, and if we change this, we get a lower total each time. All right, perfect. So now we want to return the total, and we want to divide that by the keys within threshold boundaries dot length, and that'll give us the average. So get calculate aggregate dividends average. And we're going to plug that in to our calculate aggregate dividends average. All right, hang on. Let's see what we need here. We need total yield, and we need the average. So we'll get the all right. So we'll keep this, and we'll create a const get average, and we'll create a const get total dividends. And those will accept the dividends. And let's see. we'll go ahead and I'm thinking I might split this function up, because here we return the total, but we also need we're calculating the total here based on the keys within threshold and the dividends, and then we're returning that. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and call this calculate aggregated dividends again. And then in get average, we'll say const average aggregated dividends equals calculate aggregated, and we'll do the dividends. And what we want to return here is the total and the keys within threshold boundaries. So we'll do this, and we'll do keys, and then inside total dividends we'll just do the const aggregated dividend. And we'll return that here, and inside of here we'll return the aggregated split on the key stud length. So this is the average, and we'll plug that in here. And the total yield is going to be the get total, and we'll plug that in there, and we'll hit save. Alright, so we'll go ahead and add a toFixed to those. Go ahead and parentheses around that, and fixed, and toFixed down here as well. Alright, so now we have the average and the total yield based on the amount of years we want to grab data from. So the last thing we need to do here is to do this for all of the stocks and then compare them. And we'll go ahead and handle that in the next video. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you there.